Did you know there are 3 stages of life for each zodiac sign? I'll quickly go over each one, and this one's for Aries. Now this will be a quick summary, and I will be using celebrity examples. Stage 1, the Ram. A person in this stage is going to be passionate, creative, fearless, fiery, revolutionary, but also foolish, stubborn, unable to compromise, have difficulty with control or anger or recklessness. It's giving bull in a china shop, or I came in like a wrecking ball.
Why the need for so much gruesome graphic violence? Why not let us imagine?
Because it's so much fun, Chan. Get it?
Aries in stage 2, the Shepherd, are starting to learn how to control their impulses. They're starting to learn how to transmute. They become a little less extroverted and a little more introverted. Instead of focusing more on their self and being very brash and assertive, they're starting to focus more on long-term goals. And they begin to work with others, and they start to choose their battles wisely.
Your relationship with your father and the role of all of that in the dark periods you went through and taking drugs and drinking, all of that. And I just wondered whether, you think you're free of all of that, or whether that's still something.
I'm sorry, I really don't. What are we doing?
Well, I'm just asking questions. That's all.
Right. Bye.
In Aries in life stage 3, the Sun Reborn would be a true leader. This is someone with a renewed passion. They know patience. They know how to compromise now. They know how to lift other people up. They want other people to have a voice. So not only have they taken charge of their life, they try to help other people do the same. This one's for Scorpio. Stage 1, the Scorpion. People in this stage tend to be very hyper-vigilant, like they're always in fight or flight mode. They probably don't trust you or anyone else. So this can lead them to be very secretive, very manipulative. They want to control every aspect of everything, like they're playing a chess game. Things can get a little dark and destructive during this stage, but the Scorpion is more likely to sting itself in the end.
I really want to know where she is all the time, so I know she's okay. It's got a little electronics attached. So I bought her a pair of shoes to go with these amazing tracking devices.
If those lessons have been integrated, the Scorpio moves on to life stage 2, the Eagle. In this stage, they have a higher perspective, like an eagle would. They learn to observe more rather than to just immediately react. That's because they're releasing some of the fear from the first stage. Stage 2 is the purification process, which turns that fear into courage. They're learning how to trust, surrender, and set healthy boundaries.
There's something about watching someone live experiencing something that it maybe resonates with what you're going through. There's some power in that. And I noticed in myself being less aggressive, able to finally articulate feelings as opposed to, howling at the moon or whatever I was doing before.
That's right. Stage 3 is the mother effing Phoenix. This is like turning into a whole new being, a whole new person. They've essentially burned away what was left of their fears. A Phoenix is going to have otherworldly wisdom. They're going to be the wise men, wise women, wise people of their community. Where Aries, the Sun Reborn, was more like a way shower or light bringer, this is more like a shaman or a sage. They're also very peaceful, very loyal, and they've learned how to forgive. This one's for Libra. Stage 1, the Scales. This one's probably the most complex. Scales, they're not a person, they're not a place, they're a thing. And Libras in this stage can feel like they don't fit in. They can feel like they're not human. They can have difficulty not only connecting to their external environment, but connecting to themselves and to their emotions. They have a hard time accepting themselves, feeling their feelings. So they want everything in their external environment to be very balanced, harmonious, and to look perfect. They despise conflict, so they could be prone to peer pressure or outside influence during this stage. Which leads directly to stage 2, the blindfold. This is when the Libra tries so hard to maintain that peace and balance that they turn a blind eye to things that are going on around them, or even to things that aren't perfect, which can give them the reputation for being shallow. Now they're being forced to look at all of those things, to take the blindfold off and face their problems, how they went from feeling like an object to objectifying things themselves. But it's a process.
Success means, oh, this is a good one, and it doesn't mean what most people think it means. It means whatever you think it means, and better off you'll be if it's something having to do with your humanity instead of your checkbook or your notoriety or anything like that. As a matter of fact, the success the success in relationships, how you actually impact other people, and the contribution you make to others while you're here.
Stage 3, the sword. If you haven't noticed, stage 3 seems to be when we get rid of the fear. And in Libra's case, this is the fear of stirring the pot, having their own opinion, because this is called the sword of truth. And it can take some courage and vulnerability to do that. They've gone through some very difficult lessons as far as what it is to be human, being true to yourself, how to be truly objective. They know how to pass fair judgment now. They are the mediators and divine judges of the zodiac. This one's for Taurus. Stage 1, the bull. A Taurus in this stage would be the typical thing you would think of when you think of a Taurus. Hedonistic, materialistic, and stubborn. Because if you haven't noticed, stage 1 is the, I guess you could say, cliche forms of the sign, but there are 2 more stages. So someone in this stage would also be very fearful of change, very much enmeshed in the 3D or earthly pleasures, prone to overindulgence, focused on status and accumulating wealth, but this can lead them to feel empty, like something's missing.
Mr. Zuckerberg, would you be comfortable sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
No.
Stage 2, Minotaur. This is when they learn to balance spirituality and practicality. They may have feelings of guilt from their past actions, but they're beginning to learn empathy and how to be unafraid of giving and unafraid of change. They're learning how to be generous, less suspicious. It's all preparing them for the final stage.
People are like, she cry all the time. I didn't. I held my tears for my entire life. And I feel like once I broke that wall, crying because I love you was such a moment for me, such a breakthrough emotionally for me, where I was less ashamed to cry.
Lizzo says that her ability to be publicly vulnerable is her true superpower.
God doesn't give me anything I cannot handle. And God also gave me the gift to be fearless in my vulnerability to help inspire people.
Stage 3, demigod. In this stage, their prosperity that they've accumulated is now seen internally as well. They're no longer afraid to give freely. They're no longer afraid to love freely. They're no longer afraid of change. There's no hiding from their conscience anymore. They find pleasure now from their meaningful interactions with others and through love. Shared love, though. Love without the fear of expectations or the fear of losing something. And they help others enrich their lives. So, they're known as the path showers or fertility bringers of the zodiac. This one's for Cancer. Stage 1, the crab. Someone in this stage would be a bit reactive and moody. They're usually led by their emotions and the moon phases, so they tend to move abnormally, like a crab. They do crab walking. And their emotions are going to move about just as much as a crab would in the sea. They're learning negative emotions like hurt and betrayal, and how to exist with those emotions and the people who caused them.
How you been?
Fine.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What you been doing with yourself?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
No, you're just wandering through life, just floating like a jellyfish?
Trying to keep it together, not do anything too stupid.
Really?
Make good decisions, be positive.
Okay.
Oh, you thought Cancer was sweet and innocent. Meet stage 2, the Hydra. You know how the myth goes, you cut one head off and then 2 heads sprout up in its place? Someone in this stage is going to be filled with rage. But to be fair, it's their way of coping with all the emotional trauma and betrayal that they've been through. Someone in this stage would be working really hard to relearn things like trust, empathy, and even how to be oneself. They would be trying to remind themselves that there aren't just bad people in the world, that there are good people too.
Because I do things differently, because I don't go by a rule book, because I lead from the heart, not the head. And albeit that's got me into trouble in my work, I understand that. But someone's got to go out there and love people and show it.
Stage 3, the majestic peacock. A Cancer in this stage would have learned forgiveness, they would have learned true empathy, and they've learned how to be themselves unapologetically without fear. They've learned when to release and when to fight harder for what they love. This is their most loving form. They are motherly. Some sources equate this energy to Mother Gaia, others equate it to Hera, and they are known as the divine mothers of the zodiac. They use their love to heal people. This one's for Pisces. Stage 1, fish. So if water is emotion, and you're a fish, you're constantly surrounded and engulfed with emotions. That's a stage 1 Pisces. Not only are they extra sensitive and emotional, but they're very imaginative and dreamy and very creative as well. They usually feel a bit isolated, sheltered, or detached from human society. They're learning how to live in this world as a highly sensitive person.
Must be so fun to have done 3 movies with this same wonderful cast of people.
No, because they're all bitches.
Oh, right, yeah.
Stage 2, darkness. Yeah, no big deal, just the embodiment of actual darkness. A Pisces in this stage would be going through, I guess what you could say is shadow work or the dark night of the soul. You get the picture. As a highly sensitive person, a Pisces would have endured a lot of pain. So, of course, they're going to have a lot of darkness, a lot of pain, a lot of fear to overcome. That's this stage. Pisces are very selfless. They tend to overgive. And in this stage, they learn how to set boundaries. They learn self-worth. It's like a retreat to their inner sanctuary. It can help them recharge and recuperate. And this can prevent burnout. Not only are they learning self-worth, but they're learning self-love, self-acceptance, and how to be themselves authentically.
Not a law firm in the entire city of New York bid for my employment as a lawyer when I earned my degree.
There were many well-known firms in New York that were not yet up to welcoming Jews. The next, I was a woman. That was a higher barrier. But the absolute killer was I had a 4-year-old daughter. So when I graduated from law school, there was not a single woman on any federal bench. It would not be a realistic ambition for a woman to want to become a federal judge.
Stage 3, the literal ocean. The ocean representing collective consciousness. Pisces don't play. In this stage, they obtain oneness with the world. Their energy goes from inward to outward. So they make the world a better place with their selflessness, with their empathy, with their psychic powers, with their artistry and creativity and imagination. This is usually the part of the video where I name what type of psychic or lightworker the stage 3 is, but in Pisces' case, they are whatever they want to be, basically. For context, some people liken this energy to Jesus. This one's for Gemini. Stage 1, twins. Like 2 little twins getting into mischief. They need external stimuli. They have a thirst for knowledge and an insatiable curiosity. Everything is fascinating and new. They don't like to be tied down. They avoid anchors at all costs. So this can leave them feeling a bit ungrounded, but also unfulfilled because they've been in the shallows. They haven't spent too much time on one thing, so they haven't gotten to the depths of things.
Recent analysis has proved that there's probably 2 people inside of me, just like a Gemini, and we haven't determined what sex that other person is yet.
Did you say I'm not even sure what sex it is, or he or she is? Did you say that?
Yeah.
I thought I heard that. What I'm getting from you is that you were very much in touch with both sides of yourself, your masculine and feminine side.
Oh, yeah.
And always have been. And so people grow up thinking that you're weird or that you're gay because of it, and that never bothered you?
Hey, whatever floats the boat.
On that note, stage 2, the ship. They're basically doing what they're doing in stage 1, but on a larger scale. And this leads to a big disappointment, which makes a lot of Geminis go back to stage 1. But if they can hang in there and learn these lessons, they can move on to stage 3. These lessons being sailing the cosmic oceans, if you will, to learn in order to teach others, to gather all their accumulated knowledge and turn it into something useful. So courage is needed, not to regress, to feel hurt and feel pain and be able to move on.
You know, love is an incredible thing, and we don't know love like we should. We always talk about, I have unconditional love. Unconditional love is, we don't even know it, because if a person stops stimulating us, we stop loving them. We're all trying to get to this next level without, as my brother says, without the next level finding us. You know, it's like life is peaks and valleys. And some people think that some people explain that as good times, bad times, but I actually think it's learning or let's say learning mastership, okay? Or study mastership. And that's when you stay stuck.
Stage 3, stars. These alchemists, despite all the disappointments they've been through, have somehow managed to keep their childlike spirit and childlike faith and curiosity intact. They're realizing this quest that they have been on, all this curiosity, where it stems from is a love of life, and that includes the ups and the downs. I guess you could call this energy a light keeper. They embody light. They're like a lighthouse. These are going to be your inspirational speakers, teachers, but also innovators and artists. They're multifaceted. The bottom line is they've merged their mind with their heart. All that information they've gathered, they've integrated that within their heart and spirit. They see all sides, which is why they're great guides. This one's for Aquarius. Stage 1, the water bearer. They hold the cup of divine or cosmic knowledge. And what do they do with it? Well, they run around pouring it everywhere. They just pour that everywhere, all over humanity. But humanity's not ready for it. Okay, that water's, it's unfiltered, and there's just too much of it for their little brains to handle. So they don't understand the Aquarius in stage 1, which leads someone in this stage to feeling very resentful and alienated from everyone, or nearly everyone. And they eventually are trying to learn to adapt to the human world of very narrow-minded thinking and people that have dulled senses compared to theirs, learning to adapt to that.
If I could pick any superpower, it would be flight. I would definitely pick the superpower of flight because then you can fly.
Stage 2, the owl or eagle. Yes, some sources say that eagle is stage 2, and some say that owl is stage 2. I'm more in the side of owl because there's already an eagle, stage 2 for Scorpio, and I think the energy is more likened to that of an owl anyway. In this stage, they're taking that divine or cosmic knowledge that they have and trying to get it into layman's terms for people to understand. And they do so by taking the form of an earthly being, being an owl. They're trying to get grounded and in touch with nature, animals, etc. Maybe even a human friend or two. While they're doing this, it's helping them to create plans to help humanity because they've figured out how much they actually love humanity. It kind of reminds me of like Undercover Boss energy.
We describe our music as a road to consciousness. Well, we call it music still, you know, revolutionary music.
Revolutionary in what respect?
Revolutionary of the mind, you know, bring the reality of what has been hidden from the wise and the prudent to the babe and the suckling.
Stage 3, angel. In this stage, they've learned what they needed to learn from the previous stages, which is how to intermingle with and communicate and translate their knowledge to humanity. How beautiful everything is, the planet, the animals. and how much they love humankind. They've also learned forgiveness and how to put away their personal feelings in order to serve the greater good. They've merged the divinity and cosmic knowledge of stage 1 with the 3D aspects of stage 2, so now they're out there spreading knowledge again, but this time they know how to communicate it more efficiently. They're essentially guiding people on how to elevate their consciousness and how to transition from one dimension to another. They may also be preparing the world at large for technologies of the future, but overall they're just trying to create a better place, a more positive place for all, including animals, the planet. You know what the age of Aquarius means. Well, you probably do, most of you. That's this energy. They recognize that they have a mission. You could say these are the earth angels of the zodiac. This one's for Sagittarius. Stage 1, the Archer. Someone in this stage is going to shoot for the moon. The sky is the limit. Because, like Gemini, they crave knowledge. And they're not afraid to shoot their shot. And they're also very childlike. They're actually quite naive. And they're willing to play with anyone and everyone. They're showing others how to be open and trustful. They go at everything with their whole heart. You can imagine what wearing your heart on your sleeve, coupled with trusting everyone, is going to do. It's going to lead to betrayal. So I would say a Sagittarius would get hurt most in this stage. This basically drains their enthusiasm, and they eventually become bitter, resentful, and close themselves off.
Anything that I want, I'm going to put my entire heart and brain into and make it happen. And so what I want to be is healthy, happy, in love, free, and healthy is really the number one thing for me right now.
Stage 2, the Arrow. Because of the heartache they experienced in stage 1, where their enthusiasm was taken away and where they shut down, they're having a hard time seeing the bigger picture. They can no longer see their target. They have lack of vision. So in this stage, they're learning how to refocus. They turn that focus inward and focus their inner vision, their inner creativity on something positive. They're realizing the world may not be fair, but I can be. They're learning how to release expectations and control. Only they can know where their target is, and only they can know how to hit it. They're being encouraged to go back out there in the world, to be childish like Jupiter, by treating the world as their own personal playground. However, with fair rules and fair regulations.
You always have to have that release period, that other side of it, the creative side, regardless of what your gig might be. And pretty soon, your job's going to start to be not play, but it's going to start to be more enjoyable too. And therefore, in the rest of, they have to think in a higher range of thinking. A lot of young people are. Because a lot of these old people, all they're trying to do, they want to make themselves old. So they tie up their brains like this, And then in the process, they try to build their own heavens. They want to be written down in war history. They want to be written down in money history, all these things. And those things are nothing but jokes. Next few years, they're going to all be jokes. And those people are going to be jokes.
Stage 3, the Centaur. A Sagittarius in this stage would have integrated all the lessons from stage 1 and stage 2. They can play and trust like a child while at the same time be able to plan and execute like an adult. They've learned how to implement all of their extensive knowledge into their craft, and now they can teach and guide others on what they've learned. This is Chiron energy. Their wounds are medicine to others. Whatever hurt them, they learned how to heal through that, and now they teach that knowledge to others. They become an inspiration, and they can push others to their own greatness. But they're going to do it through laughter and a positive attitude. Centaurs are incredibly wise. They have the intellect of a man, but the vigor, speed, and freedom of a horse. So not only do they have the power to heal and empower others, but they also know the secrets of the stars, the constellations, and how to interpret dreams. So I guess you could call them the wounded healers, shaman, astrologists, dream interpreters, philosophers of the zodiac. This one's for Virgo. Stage 1, the Maiden. You know what's crazy? My name was almost Sea Maiden. When I started out, I didn't know these stages. I'm a Virgo sun, so it makes sense that I would choose something with Maiden. However, Virgo is also my south node. And your south node are things that you know way too much about. You've already had lives where you've mastered those lessons. So my sun is my south node, which is why I look to my north node, which is Pisces. And what is the third stage of Pisces? The ocean, or the sea. And my name was going to be Sea Maiden. Astrology is real. So in this stage, a Virgo of any gender, not just female, is going to want to be perfect, like a doll. They're trying to live up to people's standards, and their own standards that they've set for themselves. So they want to look perfect and act perfect. When people think of Virgo, they think of service. But actually, at least in this stage, there's an inner fear of responsibility. That's where the perfectionism stems from. But no one's perfect, and Virgos have to learn that the hard way. And then they get mad at themselves for not realizing sooner that they've been going about life in all the wrong ways because they're Virgos and perfectionists. So they're really hard on themselves, especially in this stage.
Do you have any tips on dealing with stress and anxiety? I mean, if you got some ideas, let us just know. I'm kind of trying to navigate that myself. Stress and anxiety is a constant factor in my life due to my work and how tough I am with myself.
Stage 2, the Dark Maiden. A Virgo in this stage has stopped giving a f***. They've stopped trying to be perfect. Some of them may have even rebelled a bit. Virgos in this stage can get wilder than any other zodiac sign. Yeah, you heard that right. Virgos. Like in the Vampire Diaries or the originals, they've turned their human off, so to speak. They're trying to make themselves not care about anyone or anything. They're still very clever, very loving people, but their heart is broken. And in order to get to stage 3, they're going to have to go through something like the dark night of the soul.
There's these things that we oftentimes, we have responsibilities. And so we'll make sacrifices, you know, or we'll be attracted to something and we'll make sacrifices to get something. And the film is kind of promoting the idea that we have to be thoughtful about that. You know, that you can sometimes sacrifice yourself, that you think it's for the good, but maybe there's another way.
Stage 3, Queen. A Virgo in this stage has went through something like the dark night of the soul, and they've integrated their shadow. They've combined the Maiden in stage 1 with the Dark Maiden in stage 2. They are complete and whole. They've learned balance. They know how to help others without neglecting themselves. And after coming out the other side of all of this darkness, their gifts are really highlighted. And their strongest gifts are intelligence and healing abilities. Virgos are really good at balancing not only their darkness and their light, but balancing their mind and their heart. They're really good bridges. I would always notice that most of the tarot readers that I would watch were Virgo. And it was confusing because I was taught that psychic signs are water signs. Years later, I was listening to Sloan Bella, and she explained it. She said that, which I know that, you know, Virgo, Pisces, they're opposite signs, and they're both mutable. So they're most alike than any other opposite sign. But she said that Virgo has the same psychic abilities as Pisces, but since they're an earth sign, they're more likely to ground it into the here and now. With all of this being said, Virgos, you could say, are the bridges or psychopomps, messengers, and or healers of the zodiac. This one's for Leo. Stage 1, the Lion. I've mentioned before that stage 1 seems to be the most cliche form of that zodiac sign. It's no different here, because in this stage, they're known for being prideful. Pride is definitely the theme for this stage. They're learning competence, which in itself isn't a bad thing, but where the struggle is knowing when they're blowing things out of proportion versus when there's a legitimate threat. And if a lion feels that their authority is being threatened, that's when their rage is triggered. And they can have quite the temper.
Long hair Andrew Garfield, mustache Andrew Garfield, and now blonde Andrew Garfield. He really gave it all to us. This is tricky because the ego is such a delicate thing, and I'm a Leo man, and it's very, very hard for me not to. Flattery is the way into my heart. I'm trying to take these and just kind of bow so that the compliments kind of fly over my head.
Stage 2, the Warrior. This stage has a lot to do with criticism and one's reaction to it. Someone in this stage might begin to question themselves and what's right and what's wrong. But this is also their Robin Hood era. This is when they learn how to fight for people who need it the most. They're overcoming their fear of becoming, well, in Leo's case, their biggest fear would be becoming unimportant. And that's what they're learning here, is to overcome the fear of becoming unimportant. And they can only move into stage 3 when they've learned selflessness.
Have you ever given it any thought why in this very wealthy country we have bad people?
Well, you could say that about most any country. Look at Ethiopia. Look at all the countries that are...
This is the wealthiest country in the world.
Not really. One Greek, one Ethiopian, one this, one that. One person has enough wealth in those other countries to take care of the whole country. Let's not get into that. I don't understand politics. I don't understand why they don't want the farmers to grow wheat. I don't understand why we pour milk down the gutter. But I'm no different from any other well-meaning person right now, I'm sure.
When I was watching this movie, I mean, it was difficult to suddenly see you. You very rarely like people to take your picture, and I was curious how you were going to react to people seeing you as a bag lady, in which, many times, if it weren't for your voice, it doesn't look like the Lucy we know.
We shot all over New York, out of doors, and no one recognized me.
What did that do to you, Lucy? I mean,
left me alone. Just think of the character. I loved it.
Yeah, but on another level. You who really cannot walk anywhere in the world.
Didn't bother me.
It really didn't.
No, I thought it was very good that the character was there and working for me.
Stage 3, the king. Remember, gender doesn't matter. Just like Virgo's stage 3 was the queen. Gender is irrelevant here. In fact, I noticed a pattern of famous female singers that were Leos, like Madonna, Mariah Carey, Jennifer Lopez, Whitney Houston, to name a few, when I was researching for celebrity clips to use. And they're all known for being divas. I also noticed a pattern of people in aviation: Amelia Earhart, Orville Wright, Neil Armstrong. You can thank my neurodivergence for the pattern recognition skills. Anyway, in this stage, they become comfortable with their weaknesses. They don't let their pride get in the way. They are not the king because they're ruling over a bunch of people. They are the king because people have chosen them because they are wise and just. They are great guides in this stage, and they renew hope in others. And they're just trying to learn how to cope with all of that responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? This is usually the part where I say what type of light worker the stage 3 is. In this case, it could be a number of things. This is giving divine father energy. This is giving spiritual leader energy. So take your pick. This one's for Capricorn. Stage 1, the goat. This is classic Capricorn. They're very determined and persistent at achieving their goals. This is because they have an inner fear of failure or underachievement. They've been like this from a young age, so they've probably grown up taking care of themselves in some aspect. They can be a bit hard-headed, and some can focus too much on status. But they're also known for being trustworthy, dependable, hardworking, and they're not afraid to work alone, which leads to stage 2.
Thematically, I've always dealt with isolation in everything I've written, I think. So it's something that triggers me off. It always makes me interested in a new project if it has anything to do with alienation or isolation.
Do you feel isolated, though?
Not really, but I can quite imagine how it must feel to be isolated, so I have often put myself in circumstances and positions where I am isolated just so that I can write about it.
You know,
Stage 2, the cave. This is their hermit era. They become a recluse and retreat from the outer world and move into the inner world. Some do this to avoid exploitation, but the goal is to learn how to be happy without money, without status, leaving all of that behind to learn how to be happy with the small things in life, so to speak. The things money can't buy.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the south with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day with all of God's children. Be able to sing with new meaning, my country tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Stage 3, the sea goat, or according to some sources, the horn of plenty. Someone in this stage would have integrated the material lessons they learned as the goat with the ethereal lessons they learned as the hermit. How to be successful and how to have an open heart at the same time. Now, because Capricorns were responsible from a young age, they tend to be very childlike in stage 3. They're also very honest, trusting, trustworthy, while at the same time they can teach others how to achieve their own goals. In stage 1, when they might have had a "you can't sit with us" attitude, now they're more tolerant. Let's see, it seems like the main thing is they help others reach their fulfillment, and they're able to write their own story and be successful at it. So they are the authors of their own stories. So I guess you could call them the manifestors or life coaches of the zodiac.